I know it's 3 in the morning, but hello. Some people are up. You should have self-awareness. I don't know how he could break up with me, though. I don't think I did anything wrong. I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up. I don't know what to do.
So, guys, Nintendo wants gamers to own nothing, and it's backfiring on them royally as SteamOS has dropped, and companies are now rushing quickly to ditch Windows and add SteamOS to their gaming handhelds, turning them into amazing gaming devices that are similar to the Nintendo Switch 2, only much more powerful, cheaper, much more customizable, and with just way more games and better games. So today's video actually is going to come from PC World. If you want to go check them out, I'll link them in the description of the video. Why is Nintendo now beginning to worry about the future of their devices? How is this going to affect Nintendo going forward as more gaming handheld makers are switching over to SteamOS for mobile devices? Watch the end of the video to fully understand the implications, especially as the backlash against Nintendo continues to rage for their anti-gamer policies coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 now as a result of their recent update to their terms of service agreement. Don't forget to follow us over on Rumble. Our Rumble's linked in the description of the video. Also, guys, if you want to learn how to get into affordable PC gaming, go and check out Angry Guys Arcade, which is also linked in the description of the video. And now let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So the backlash against what Nintendo has done is absolutely massive. There's over like 100 games that won't even be able to work on the Switch 2 at launch. The Switch 2 is actually like some people got their hands on it early. It's basically a brick, so it cannot work out of the box without a day one patch from Nintendo, which is basically them letting you know that they were very, very serious, that they can turn it off and turn it on and turn it off whenever they feel like. It's now a license in the box. So if you buy a Switch 2, don't Nintendo will take it away from you when they feel like it. You no longer have any control. Like from what I can tell now, it's basically going forward. It's like you will need Nintendo's permission just to activate the device. So there's no situation anymore where you can just go and buy a console and use it. You need Nintendo's permission to play the device. And of course, that's going to be tied to your Nintendo account, so they can ban you and permanently take away all of your games, and and you will lose access to playing games from Nintendo forever. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely Orwellian. You can't even buy a console anymore from Nintendo, and it just works right out the box. You can put your games into it and play your games. Nope. You need Nintendo's permission to constantly play your games now. This is you no longer, and they're no longer your games. Even the whole game key card thing, evidently, they can deactivate individual game key cards. So even if you purchase a game key card, keep in mind the game key card is just a license on a disc, so they can actually deactivate the license that's on the disc, because you don't, there's no software on the actual disc itself. It's just a license authorizing you to download the game and play the game while the game key card is in the console. If you take it out, it stops working. But the actual license that's tied to the disc itself, tied to the game key card itself, it's just a license. It's a serial number, and Nintendo can deactivate the serial number linked to that game key card whenever they feel like it. So you really do not own nothing at all. And they're the shills who are like, oh well, it's the exact same. It's the exact same as what Sony and Microsoft, what Apple's been doing since 2008. That's a complete and utter lie. That's a complete and utter lie. None of these companies are doing what Nintendo has been doing. All right, have there been missteps? Yes. Are they doing what Nintendo is doing? Absolutely not. What Nintendo is doing is so illegal that in the EU, they don't have the same terms. They did not expand the same terms to the EU that they did to the US and UK, saying they can brick your device because of consumer protections in the EU would eat them alive. And even they even say in the new updated terms that if any part of these terms are found to be illegal, the other terms will remain in effect. Why would they put in there that if any of these new terms are found to be illegal? Illegal. So Nintendo is well aware that what they are doing is illegal, but they don't care because Nintendo is a law firm. It is not a video game company. It is a law firm that makes video games. It is not a video game company that has lawyers. It is a law firm that makes video games. Nintendo's actually DMCAing YouTubers right now that go around and that are making videos talking about Nintendo and what they're doing and then bricking consoles. Yes, they are literally DMCAing. And I was watching a video by Smash JT earlier, and he was begging Nintendo, please don't DMCA him because they don't even want you talking about their corruption, y'all. I, I don't know how this is even gonna, like, thankfully I sent my letter off. So I basically sent my letter off certified mail. That's out now. My lawyer prepared it for me, and some of you are all like, you shouldn't have signed it at all, you shouldn't have agreed. He basically said that you have to agree to it for them to for the you have to agree to their terms and then send it in so that it will become valid, because if you don't agree, then they can say that you're no longer actually a customer, and it makes, again, this is all BS and this is all garbage. And my attorney specializes in intellectual property. He's a very good attorney. He's a very, very good attorney. I will tell you about his win rate in terms of like in terms of every copyright notification that I've received from other YouTube channel, like from anyone else, like, oh, you're using this video, blah blah blah. Pretty much every copyright I've ever received, he's beaten. I mean, he's basically, what he does is he's the person that goes around working for these companies, pulling down videos. So he's the jerk. He's the person like that basically DMCA's channels. He's a DMCA. He specializes in DMCA takedowns. He's the guy who does that, and I was able to hire him, and he's been doing amazing work for me. And there's some things I find out, like they have like a backdoor to YouTube and these platforms directly. It's all kinds of strange stuff that's going on. But yeah, what this is creating a massive opportunity right now, because as companies are looking at the switch to as companies are looking on, they're seeing just how bad the experience is. They're seeing just how bad the experience is, and they're like, okay, well, this is an opportunity to jump in, and now they're launching as a result, they are launching their own products, and they're running Steam OS, and these devices are absolutely brilliant. When you see them in action, when you see how well they operate, how beautiful they are. It is absolutely insane. Specifically, the Legion Go S running Steam OS is just launched, and it is the Z1 Extreme version is an absolute and utter beast. I'm actually going to show you guys that in a little bit. You're going to check it out, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. But guys, if you want to learn about affordable PC gaming, how to get games cheap, dirt cheap. Literally, don't spend $50 for a game. Get it for $1.49. You don't have to spend $1,000 for a gaming PC or a gaming laptop. You can basically get into gaming, have an incredible setup, save lots of money, and have the time of your life. You can do it all on a budget, even less than the cost of a PlayStation 5 at this point. And we teach you all about that over at Angry Guys Arcade. It's absolutely crazy. We also do reviews, keep you up to date on the latest things happening in gaming and technology. And yeah, it's a great place to go and check out. It's linked in the description of the video. As console gaming fades into history, the PC master race is rising from its ashes, stronger, faster, and more customizable than ever. Don't get left behind in the dust. Angry Guys Arcade is your gateway to affordable PC gaming, personalized gaming advice, and the latest news shaping the future of gaming. The link is in the description. Go check it out now. So yeah, guys, I do have a video from ETA Prime. We're gonna go ahead and check out the video because I think that there's some really cool things in there that we should be seeing. You can get a look at what it looks like, how SteamOS is operating on there, but you're gonna be able to see that no, this thing is absolutely boss.
SteamOS was officially released for the Legion Go S, and I can tell you that with it installed here, it does make this a whole new device. I'm actually seeing some really decent performance here for what we have, and keep in mind, this is the version with the Ryzen Z2 Go. When this was initially released with Windows, performance was very subpar. I even installed Bazai and we tested an older build of SteamOS. It wasn't doing great then, but with what Valve has done now, I do think that this is a viable Steam Deck competitor. And by competitor, I don't mean they're going to be going head to head because Valve is making money no matter what. If you're running Steam, you're buying games from Steam on another device running SteamOS, Valve is still making money from each game sold, so they're not worried about this thing cutting into Steam Deck profits because they're already selling the Steam Deck at a lower cost and they kind of subsidize that price knowing that you're going to buy games on their platform. So I think that Valve is definitely welcome to other devices running SteamOS, and that's why we have the first one here with the Legion Go S. In this video, we're going to be testing on the Legion Go S with 32 gigs of RAM and the Z2 Go, and that's because all of the other ones are delayed or preparing to be shipped. I've purchased the Z1 Extreme version with Steam, the Z1 Extreme version with Windows, and the official SteamOS version with 16 gigs of RAM and the Z2 Go, but as you can see, they're preparing or being a bit delayed. So I'll have those in a few days and we'll kind of do a comparison. But when it comes down to it, the only difference between this and the official SteamOS version is the RAM amount. We've actually got more RAM with this one, 32 gigs versus 16, but we've got the same exact APU. It's the AMD Ryzen Z2 Go. 4 cores, 8 threads, and a 12 compute unit RDNA 2 iGPU. From the BIOS, I've gone in and I've dedicated 16 gigs of the 32 we have here with this version to VRAM. And one cool thing is, as soon as I installed SteamOS, it actually had a firmware update. So it updated the BIOS through SteamOS. I didn't have to go back and install Windows to get the latest GoOS BIOS. Thought that was pretty cool, and I'm really glad to see a real officially supported SteamOS device here. And we've got full TDP control directly from within SteamOS. We've got a low power mode, which is going to be 10 watts. Balanced is 15, performance is 30, and a custom anywhere from 5 to 40. And I think that's plugged into the wall because right now on battery, I can go anywhere from 5 up to 33 watts. And we can set a lock on the GPU clock to 2200 megahertz. And another cool thing here is our Legion button up here will tell us what power mode we're in. So we've got a balanced mode, low power, and red is going to be our performance. Purple is going to be our custom, and we can fully customize that through SteamOS. Now, in this video, I kind of wanted to get an idea of how this compares to the Steam Deck OLED when it comes to running at a 15-watt TDP. Of course, we can go much higher with this, up to 40 watts plugged into the wall, and it's definitely going to give us a little better performance, but you're not going to get great battery life like that because we've only got a 55.5 watt-hour battery. So far, I've actually been having a blast with the Legion Go S and SteamOS installed on it. And the first thing I want to do here is actually show you a few games running on this device. Then we're going to move into a side-by-side comparison between this and the Steam Deck OLED at a 15-watt TDP. And we're also going to get an idea of how much battery life we could get out of this thing.
Now, guys, I want to just show you something real quickly. I picked up some games earlier, right? And this is from a key shop. This is actually from, I think this is Instant Gaming. And they're basically a key reseller. Now, here's where things get very interesting. I picked up these games earlier, and these are some really bangers. We have The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. We have Scribblenauts Unmasked, ADC Comics Adventure. We have Hotline Miami, and then we have Sunset Overdrive. If you go to Steam right now and you look up all of these games, the total cost for these games are over $100. The official price for all of these games are over $100. These are games that are these are the prices that you're going to find for these games on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch. These are the prices if these games are even there. And I purchased all of these games. I actually purchased 5 games. So you're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 5 games that I purchased. So I actually got 5 of these games, all 5 for just $8.83. And some of you might go, well, Angry Odd, those are indie titles. Those are, blah, blah, blah. No, bro. These are high, guys, like these are Souls-like games. These are high-end games. These are big, like, triple, some of these are AAA titles. And, like, I'm picking them up for nothing. This is what I usually do. And I want to just share that with you. Okay? And I can install mods with these games. I can make changes. I can do all kinds of stuff. I can tweak the settings, the visuals. I have full control. I have full control. And the thing is that I can use, let's say, the lossless upscaler if I want to improve the visuals without, if without outside of tweaking in-game settings. So that's another way of upscaling my game to make it look better. I mean, I just wanted you guys to see the difference between the Nintendo Switch 2, PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. And we're not even counting GOG because there's a lot of great deals on GOG. This is just Steam. And these are all keys for these games. And what the keys are is basically, for those of you that don't do PC gaming, you can get game keys, and they're basically like license keys, and you can just add them onto Steam, and then they unlock the game on Steam. It's absolutely insane. And I use a lot of different key resellers. If you want to learn how to do what I'm doing, you can go and check out Angry Guys Arcade, which is linked in the description of the video, and we teach you about how to do this. We give you the list of all the different key resellers you can check out. Guys, I have such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to PC gaming, when it comes to the technology behind it, when it comes to, like, if you ever need help, you get into PC gaming, you get stuck with something, you can turn to me. And you say, like, hey, Angry, what's this? You can learn about the best ways to get in. You can learn about the different deals. You can find, I'm also planning to do like a series of games games that are, I don't want to say red pill, but games that are not politically motivated, not politically charged. They're not no DEI detected games that do not contain DEI. So definitely you can go check out Angry Guys Arcade, because it's a great resource. I try to keep it up to date, new articles. It's awesome. We talk about the downfall of Nintendo and what's going on there as well. So definitely go and consider that. But let's go ahead and watch some more of this video, because guys, Steam OS, as you can see, is absolutely insane. It's gorgeous, and it's going to put a massive dent into Nintendo. Right now I'm like sad because I spent all my time like, shouldn't I pick up the Nintendo Switch 2, and now I'm like, yeah, I'm not picking it up. And instead of, like, I wish I had pre-ordered the Legion Go S Z1 edition, because right now it's evidently sold out. There are some people who did get it. I think it's only being sold at Best Buy. And while the version for $599, this with the one with the Z2 Go chip, which is and 16 gigabytes of RAM, is available, like, everyone's going for the Z2. Like, most people are going clearly for the Z1 edition that has Z1 Extreme Edition. I know it's like, you're like, Z2 Go. Wouldn't Z2 be more powerful than Z1? The Z2 Go is actually a second generation chip, but it's not as powerful as the first generation Z1 Extreme. So the Z1 Extreme is way more powerful than the Z2 Go. And it's just an incredible chip. It's really powerful. It has, like, incredible performance. So it's roughly around the performance of a desktop 16 GTX 1650 or 1660. So it's a relatively strong GPU in terms of gameplay. It's no 3060. It's no 3060, but for a handheld device, the fact that it's a handheld device, it does not need the same TDP that you would have on a desktop. It does not have to scale to a monitor or so forth, or a television. As a result of that, you're going to be getting very similar performance as you'd be getting from, let's say, a 3060 running on a desktop. I don't know if I'd go as far as that, but it's really solid performance, incredible performance. You can play all modern titles, because the problem with the Steam Deck right now, is the fact that the Steam Deck is just not powerful enough to play a lot of modern games. And it's been like that from, like, since the inception of the Steam Deck. Since it came out, there have been problems with the Steam Deck where it just wasn't powerful enough to play a lot of games. It's perfect for indie titles. It's perfect to play games like Hollow Knight on, or Hades, or, like, a lot of these games are visual, or a lot of my assumptions, like, lots of the visual novel games, as long as they're compatible. Those types of games, great. Side scrollers, pixel art, they're going to run incredible. It's an amazing indie machine. It's amazing machine for indie titles, kind of the way, like, the way that the PS Vita was a great device for indies. But in terms of running, like, next gen games, current generation games, like God of War or Black Myth Wukong. Forget about Black Myth Wukong. Games like these, it's not going to happen. Clear Obscure Expedition 33. I think that it can run it, but it's not necessarily running it very well. So it's an indie machine, which is the reason why you're going to want to go with something that has better technology, and you don't want to go with the Z1. You don't want to go with the Z2 Go model. It's $600 for the Z2 Go model of the Legion Go S. You don't want to go with that because it's like, and then it's $829 for the Z1 Extreme model with 32 gigabytes of RAM. You want to go with that model. You definitely want to go with that model. It's a $229 difference, but it's absolutely worth it when you consider the power differential. Power differential is that you're getting just so much better performance, and it's going to last you a lot longer. You're going to be able to play modern titles on it without game stuttering, because that's one of the reasons why your games end up stuttering is with PC gaming, is because is because you don't have enough VRAM, and the processor and the GPU and CPU just cannot keep up. So you want a decent, but the thing is, the CPU is more important than the GPU is more important than the CPU. But if you don't have a good enough CPU, then it can actually bottleneck the GPU. It's crazy. So while the GPU is more important than the CPU, you have to have a good CPU paired with your GPU if you want good stellar performance, and you have to have enough RAM. Because if you don't have enough RAM, then your system is going to run out of RAM, and you're going to be stuttering like crazy. So you don't want that. Everything has to be in balance. So you want the higher end specs that you can get. But this is going to be absolutely massive. I picked this up, and guys, here's the truth. A lot of people, you know, Nintendo has basically set off what's going to become now the great, like the new great new pirate era, that's going to put One Piece to shame, because everyone's going to basically be sailing the seven seas, sailing the seas, sailing the seven seas, singing, ho ho ho, it's a pirate's life for me. you know and while I can see that a lot of people are now saying, Nintendo can go to hell, they can keep the Switch 2, I'm never going to buy another Nintendo device. They may be saying they're never going to buy another Nintendo device, but have you noticed many of them are not saying that they're never going to play another Nintendo game ever again. In fact, a lot of them are looking forward to playing the next to playing the next Mario Kart, to playing the next Donkey Kong, to playing the next Zelda. They said that they're not going to buy Mario. They said they're not buying Nintendo's products anymore. They never said they're not going to play Nintendo's games anymore. So Nintendo is basically, Nintendo's like, we're just going to sue everyone. Nintendo is potentially looking at antitrust violations, and if the tides turn against them, if enough people are able to band together to file a class action lawsuit against Nintendo, which would include me, because I sent off my letter to Nintendo, thank God, and I sent it certified, and I sent it with a return receipt on top of that. Yeah, I'm planning to if I sue, I'm planning to sue hard. I'm planning to sue hard. Like I just like it's like they push you to the end of. They push you to the very end. I don't know if they really understand who they're actually messing with, because like they're messing with people who's like, you get to a point where like, what more do I have left to lose? You're going to take if you're going to take the life from my body, I'm going to fight until I go down. And if you want to take me out, you're going to have to take me out. If that's what Nintendo is going to, that's how bad they think they can push everyone and anyone around. They don't realize, that's the one thing about Nintendo. They don't realize that, when you're dealing with Americans, Americans are the ones. Americans will stand up, and Americans will fight you, because if there's one thing Americans love to do, it's sue, which is one of the reasons why they have the whole thing in there, forced arbitration. But here's another thing that Nintendo did not think about, and they've now put themselves between a rock and a hard place. I don't know if they found a way to stop this, but in the case of Valve basically tried to do the whole mandatory arbitration thing. I talked about it in another video. Valve basically tried to force everyone into arbitrations previously, and then now they're like, I think it was like, I don't know if it was earlier this year or late last year. They basically walked it back, and they changed their guidelines where now you can no longer basically they can no longer do forced arbitration. If you want to sue Valve, you have to sue them. And but the thing is that they've now updated their terms to say, well, but you're going to have to delete your account with all of your games if you want to sue Valve. Like, and they're hoping that they can prevent you from suing by doing that. But I don't think it'll hold up in court. I don't think that would hold up in court as well at all, saying that you can't sue them if you have an active Valve account. That makes zero sense. You cannot sue Valve if you have an active Valve account. I don't think your lawyer would tell you to go and do that. I don't think that can hold up in court, that you cannot sue Valve if you have an active Valve account. You have to basically delete your Valve account with all of your games and products, and then you can sue them. That sounds more like, if you delete all of your products, then basically you're deleting the history, and Valve can then turn around and say that, well, we can't prove that you were ever one of our consumers because you don't have any proof. So yeah, I don't think that would hold up in court. So don't get me wrong, Valve is not a virtuous company, but the reason why they did this was because what ended up happening was, in places like California, maybe even places like maybe even New York, it depends on some states, but I know California, I believe, is one of those states. If a company requires mandatory arbitration, then you have to, if that's in their terms, then that company has to pay the legal bills for the person who is suing them. So if Nintendo requires that I go through arbitration to sue them, Nintendo has to cover the cost of my attorney. Now, here's where things get very, very interesting. Legal firms already are aware of this. So what they'll do is, if they cannot do a class action lawsuit, they will do the next best thing, where they'll basically say, "Hey, have you been a victim of Nintendo's new policies? Call us, or whatever legal firm is out there, and we'll help you out." Right? And what they'll end up doing is they will basically file multiple lawsuits on the behalf of all of these individuals. So it'll basically be mass lawsuits. It will basically be mass lawsuits. So they'll file mass lawsuits, mass arbitrations, and the company. So, for example, if you have 10,000 people, now suing, that's Nintendo would have to pay. Nintendo, for example, will have to cover the attorney fees for every single one of those people that are suing, and attorneys are expensive. So this could result in hundreds of millions of dollars in attorney fees. That's like 10, and we're talking about like 10,000 in the tens of thousands of people. If we're talking about in the millions of people, we are talking about hundreds of millions to billions of dollars in attorney fees. Nintendo would be completely screwed. And here's where things get even more interesting, because each of these cases are now individual. Nintendo would have to have attorneys fighting would have to have attorneys arbitrating each and every single one of these cases. So can you imagine Nintendo having to arbitrate 1 million different cases? It's not going to happen. They would much rather a class action lawsuit at that period, but they would not be able to initiate a class action lawsuit because of their terms. Okay, so Nintendo's basically put themselves between a rock and a hard place. And if Nintendo now, after changing their terms to this, then go and try to change them again, it opens up another can of worms for Nintendo, because the terms that the person signed on for when they purchased the Switch now changes all over again. So basically, it's guys. Again, this is now bordering on antitrust, and I honestly feel like Nintendo is basically, they're going to find themselves between a massive rock and a hard place as backlash grows, and then competition is taking off with these new SteamOS devices, where like all of these companies are now rushing to install SteamOS, and that gives you the Nintendo experience, that gives you the handheld experience without the handheld prices. Sony, Microsoft, they can't keep up with these things. Evidently, Microsoft has their own handheld coming from Asus soon, like the Asus, the ROG Ally 2 supposedly will be a hybrid that will run both Xbox, like Microsoft's custom operating system, and it will also allow you to play Steam games on it. So it'll have, like, I guess, the Steam app installed. However, no one wants that crap. No one trusts Microsoft. No, why would I play Microsoft's device? Their hybrid garbage. They have, like, all of their games are on Game Pass and on PC. Like, who the hell is going to pick up their garbage games anyway, when you can just get a Steam OS device, no bloatware, no Microsoft, no Windows involved, and it's going to be cheaper, more reliable, and you can still play Game Pass. You can still play. I think you can. I think you can. All right, but even if you can't, who the hell cares? Okay? Who the hell cares? It's like it just doesn't make any sense. So they're basically finding themselves between a rock and a hard place. And Nintendo, they've pissed off their consumer base. They've lost trust. We saw what happened with the Xbox Series S. We see what happened with the Xbox Series S, where Microsoft, where Microsoft they tried to do the whole connecting where it would always be online and always monitoring you and always watching you. And consumers, there was massive backlash. People just didn't buy it, and they lost the Xbox Series S they lost the Xbox One generation, and they never recovered, and now they've lost the Xbox Series S X generation. Because like they're about half, they sold around half as many placed half as many Xboxes as Sony has sold PlayStations, and both of them are diminishing. Both console makers are seeing declining sales. So that should tell you everything you really need to know about where things are actually heading right now. Like once you lose the trust of the consumer, it's pretty much over. And I posted this meme. Like I posted a meme, and it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Actually, it'll be going up very very soon. Let me put this out here. There we go. And you guys can see what it says. It says, if the Switch 2 struggles, fanboys will vanish faster than the Wii U era. Yeah, guys, these Sims ain't loyal. These Sims ain't loyal. And the moment that the Switch 2 starts to struggle and people start abandoning it, the Sims will abandon it as well. All right. And if they cannot access their games, their Nintendo games again, Nintendo cracks down even more, then they will go elsewhere. The Sims are not loyal. All right. They will jump ship very, very quickly. They'll become Sony ponies overnight, or they'll start, or as these Steam machines become more available and the Steam consoles start hitting living rooms, because now we have Steam OS handhelds. But once Steam OS for desktop drops, and we have Steam machines, a new generation of Steam machines, basically Steam consoles that you can buy and put in the living room, they'll jump ship. They'll jump ship just like that. Play Sonic Team Racing instead of Mario Kart, and they'll basically do the whole emulation thing as well. And Nintendo will be screwed. What are they going to do? Sue everyone? But that's, yeah, guys, Nintendo didn't learn their lessons, and they're going to basically feel the fallout for what they've done. But that's all I have for you guys right now. What do you think? Nintendo wants gamers to own nothing, and it's backfiring on them royally. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, man, walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.